and welcome to the Alternate Point of View. I am your host, Tracy Lee. Welcome back if you have been to this channel before, and welcome if you are brand new. I know you have many true crime and trial recap options on YouTube to watch, and I am super thankful that you are here for my channel. So today we are on day 3 of the Rust trial with Halyna Hutchins. And I, first of all, want to make a correction from my last video where we were talking about the actual gun that shot Halyna Hutchins, where I said that it was, you only had to pull the trigger and you didn't have to pull the hammer back. I was incorrect. I am very sorry. It is a single action weapon. My boyfriend corrected me. You do have to pull the hammer back and then pull the trigger. So it is a gun, because it is a Colt 45 Western style gun. You do have to pull the hammer back and then pull the trigger, because pulling the hammer back chambers the weapon and then you pull the trigger. So again, with that said, it is virtually impossible for Alec Baldwin to not have pulled the trigger when he claims he did not pull the trigger. So also, I will say that they started off with charges against Alec Baldwin, and then they dropped the charges claiming that there was some sort of malfunction with the gun. And again, I will say, as I stated in my last video, that the gun did not just go off, okay? There was no malfunction. This gun was brand new, okay? It wasn't an old gun. It wasn't a prop gun. It was a real Colt 45 gun, okay? It was brand new, just purchased, and he did not have a malfunction. The gun just didn't magically fire off, okay? And again, as I stated in my last video, they were literally just doing some scene setup to simplify what blocking means. They were just setting the scene, getting the lighting right, getting the close-up, and just trying to show what the scene was going to look like. And he chose to have the weapon on him. He chose to pull the gun out. He chose to pull the trigger. At the end of the day, he chose all of that. Now, the trial, however, is against Halyna Hutchins. She is the armor. She was 24 years old. This was a low-budget film. They call a low-budget film usually an indie film. It is a union film. I will tell you this, though. Just because it's a union film doesn't mean that everyone on the set is a union member. I have been on films before where I am not union, but the film may be union. So just because it's a union film and you're not union, you're not necessarily privy to the same rules and regulations, but you get those kind of privileges because the other people that are union get the privileges because, well, they're union. So you have to stick under those rules. But when you're under that kind of tight budget and tight timeline, whereas Alec Baldwin was, and it was a very small budget, then, you know, you hire an armor who isn't as experienced and is cheap. And that's what Halyna was. And she was also, again, handling other props. Later in this video, you will see some pictures of the trailer, the prop room, which was a disaster. You'll see the cart that held all the guns. You'll see that was a disaster. You will see how easily it was. She didn't even know what the box was that had the ammunition rounds in them. The box, I've never seen this before, said JS on them. And she got these rounds from another person Her father apparently told her that these rounds are matched, this box matched some that came from their house. So she didn't check each and every round, okay? I watched her interrogation video, and she didn't ask, not one time in her interrogation video did she ask if anyone was injured. She didn't ask how Halyna was. She didn't ask how Joel Salza was. She didn't ask any of those questions. She was really more concerned about herself. I also watched Alec Baldwin's interrogation, and well, we'll call them interviews. They weren't really interrogations. They were more like interviews. But he also was more concerned about himself and less concerned about Halyna. So I will also say Jensen Eccles is a very nice guy. He's from where I live. He lives out here in Texas. His wife and he are very nice people. He is an excellent actor and very well trained. I've met them. They're very nice. I've been in films with Jared Padalecki, or on TV with Jared Padalecki rather. Jensen is very nice. He's very well trained in weapons. And when I watched his interview, he was the only one who actually had really good answers and made a lot of sense. Like, he's been on several movie sets and film sets and TV shows where, you know, there have been armors that were very, very like drill sergeant style. He said, you know, like, because you're handling a weapon, and they would be like, don't point it at anybody, don't do this, don't do that. And, you know, and he stated also in his interview, the way I said, like, when you're given a prop, or when you're given something that's yours and yours alone to use, it's yours, right? So if I'm given this on set, this is mine. This belongs to Tracy Lee, and it has my name or my number on it, right? And I have it all day. It's my prop. And then when I return it, it goes into my little return spot. And then I get it back when I go back to set the next day, or whenever I go back to set, because this is mine. And I have to check and make sure that nobody's touched my stuff. And, you know, the prop person has to make sure that my prop is the way it should be. So with a weapon, it should be the same way, but even more thoroughly, because you have to make sure that no one has messed with your stuff. And Jensen even made a comment in his interview that he says, you know, a lot of armors hate when he does this, even the, you know, ex-military armors, even the, you know, people who, ex-cops, whatever, but he will take his weapon and he will fire it off to make sure that there's no live rounds, because there should never be a live round on a set. And he just takes that extra careful step. So I appreciate that he is that careful. And he also mentioned in his interview that his wife was absolutely just, she couldn't even watch anything about this, what happened, because honestly, it could have been him, right? So I can understand his wife's fear, because in the scene, Jensen is supposed to call out Alec Baldwin's character out of this church scene and tell Alec Baldwin to drop his weapons and come out peacefully. But in the scene, Alec Baldwin does not do that. He comes out, he pulls his weapon out, and he starts firing. And it could have been Jensen, okay? But instead, when they're not even filming and they're just doing the blocking, they're setting the scene, Alec Baldwin pulls out the weapon, and you see him pull out the weapon a couple of times while they're setting the scene, they're doing the blocking, and he pulls out the actual gun. And no one is taking responsibility for how the rounds got in this gun. And they're trying to blame it on Hannah. They're trying to blame it on David Hall, who also is supposed to be a the checker kind of person, the AD, that's who he is, the assistant director. So, it's very, 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 it's a terrible situation. But at the end of the day, Hannah is the armor. And I will also say that Jensen was very, he was a really cool dude in his interview, because he was like, hey, kudos to her. She's 24. She's young. She's a female in a male-dominated field, and she's getting this opportunity to be an armor on this. I know it's a low-budget film, but this is a good opportunity for her. Kudos to her. And so he gave her mad props, right? He gave her mad respect, because he was like, good on her for getting this gig. So he didn't, down her in any way. He just treated his prop, his gun, his stuff like he treated it on any set. He wasn't doing anything against her. He was just doing what he does as if he were with any other armor. He did say, though, that he could tell that she wasn't as experienced, because she was not the drill sergeant type of armor that he's used to. And now he appreciates that type of armor, because that kind of shows him now that that's the kind of armor he wants, because they did not have any type of practice. They did not have any type of range shooting. They didn't have any type of, how can I make you feel more comfortable with a weapon? He said she did ask him, how comfortable are you with guns? And he basically, to test her, he was like, well, I'm not really that comfortable. I'm not that great, So he was testing her knowledge, and he said she did do a decent job of helping him. Like, well, here's how you load it, But as far as going into a whole lot of details, she didn't really do that. So he could tell she wasn't as experienced, but he did give her the benefit of the doubt. So I'm wondering if they're going to call Jensen to the stand for her trial. I mean, the trial today was the FBI investigation on the actual weapon. They tested the weapon. They showed that the weapon was in good working condition. They showed the bullet casings. They showed the ones that were real. They showed how many were live rounds, how many were dummy rounds. What I didn't appreciate was the defense questioning, like, oh, do you have any training on dummy rounds? Do you have any training on fake rounds or whatever? And they're like, no, but I know what a real round is, So like, they're basically were trying to like downplay the fact that because they weren't trained on how to catch a dummy round, then how would they know the difference between a dummy round and a real round? Pretty sure if you can find the real round, the other ones are dummies. You don't need to be trained specifically on a dummy round. So they also were wondering why they didn't pick apart each and every round. And they were like, because it didn't make any sense, basically, to pick apart every single round, because if they had done that, they would have ended up with like a lot of rounds that were real rounds. So they basically just took the ones that were necessary and, split them up. And so they just tried to make the FBI look like they didn't know what they were doing, because they didn't know, they didn't have any specific training on dummy rounds. They also, I will say this is the first day that I've seen any real emotion in the trial. I haven't seen any emotion out of Hannah. I haven't seen her really flinch at all. There was a grip on the stand today. Camera guy, he was very emotional about Halyna. When he realized that she had been shot, he cried. He was very upset. He was able to speak to prior experiences on sets with other armorers. He was able to speak to his experience on this set and the corners that were cut on this set, the speed as to how they were trying to get this set done. I will say it is kind of contradictory to Jensen's experience on set. Jensen said that his stuff went kind of smoothly, but of course he's a professional. He can get his stuff knocked out pretty quickly. I don't think he had any issues. He did not speak very kindly about the cameraman in his interview with the police because the cameraman kind of walked off set because they weren't being accommodated. They were having to drive pretty far to get to set. I mean, like I said, it's out in the middle of nowhere. But these are all things that you sign up for. So, like when I say I've been to sets that are out in the middle of nowhere and you're getting eaten alive and you're laying on the ground in 100+ degree temperature, this is what you sign up for. You know you're signed up for this. I have worked on sets for free just to like be in something, just to try and get recognized, just to get the experience. Okay. I've been out in the middle of the woods in the middle of nowhere. Okay. So you know what you sign up for. So there are a lot of people that sign up for a film and they think, oh man, I get to work with, Alec Baldwin. I'm going to get to work with, Carrie Ann Moss or something. And I have done that. I have worked on films where I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to be in a film with so-and-so. And you know you're signing up for something that's, you are really literally like a no one on this set. But you know you're signing up for that. You know that you're not getting accommodated. You know that you're not going to get paid much. You know that you're, so what are you whining about, right? So I can see Jensen's point, right? So I understand where he was coming from when these camera guys walked off the set, the day of shooting a certain scene. And so he looked at it as they were just being little whiny wenches, and he didn't have any. That's pretty disrespectful to do to a film and to the actors and to other people who are putting a lot of time and effort into this, because they wanted more accommodations. It's tough. It's tough to drive far. I've driven as far as 4 hours for a film. I've been on a film where I worked, 16 hours in a day, and this was for no money. And went and paid for a hotel room and slept for 3 hours and got back up and worked the next day. So, but this is all because, you're hoping that your film is going to be put into a festival, or you're hoping that you're going to get that opportunity to be put out there. So, you just never know. You never know. So, I feel like the case is not going great for Hannah. I will also say that I have been posting pictures, and I'm going to post a picture of her attorneys. And she has, I told y'all in my last video, her attorney looked like she needed to be in the club, but they have completely switched out her female attorney. She has a new female attorney, and the new female attorney looks professional. She is even up there asking questions to the witnesses, whereas the last girl was a huge distraction, y'all. She looked like, I'm serious when I'm talking about, like, what? So I will say that the defense is trying to blame everything on Alec Baldwin, on David Hall, on the production company, and they're really trying to take everything off of Hannah. And they're trying to say that she had too much on her plate and was unable to really do this job to her full potential. But at the end of the day, she is the armorer. She was the armorer on this set. She was high daily, which I don't care what anyone says, but if you're high on a daily basis, it kind of hinders your functionality. And she did not have the wherewithal to check every round, and she didn't check every round. I mean, she literally, there's a picture of her with a live round sitting in her lap. There are pictures of the gun belts with live rounds in them. And when I show you the pictures of the boxes of rounds, it is very, very hard to tell with the naked eye which ones are live and which ones are not. And I have looked up pictures of boxes of rounds of Colt 45 rounds, and they don't all come silver with silver inserts. Okay, some of them are all gold. I can't tell. So they say there's a little indentation, and that's how you know it's a blank. I can't tell. So unless you're a really good armorer, a really good expert, unless you really pick up each and every one, you're taking that time and you're not feeling rushed and you're shaking that round, then you are not doing your due diligence and doing your job. So I do still feel that there is negligence on her part. I do feel that she does not feel responsible for this. I don't think she sees herself as at fault. I don't think she's taking this very seriously. Or at least I'm not getting that sense or vibe from her in this trial so far. And I know this trial is going to go on for 2 weeks at least. So I'm wondering who else is going to be called to the stand. And honestly, the outcome of this trial is going to really speak to what's going to happen for Alec Baldwin, because if there were corners cut, Alec Baldwin is in a lot of trouble. And there are going to be a lot more people coming up to go against him, because there are a lot of lawsuits against Alec Baldwin and Russ Productions, because this film seemed to have been doomed from the start. And I know a lot of people are looking for some sort of retribution and justice. This should never have happened. It should never happen. I mean, things happen on sets. When I worked on Walker, Jared Padalecki had a scene where he was supposed to be like tackled to the ground, and he had these great stand-ins, these stuntmen and I mean, when they like did the scene, it was like, whoa, they did such a good job. And I can't even believe they were able to like just slam into each other the way they did, and they did such a good job, and it looked so real. It was so real. But that's just like, that had no weapons involved or anything. But to have weapons involved is a whole another situation. So I just feel like Hannah is in a lot of trouble. I don't know what the maximum sentence is on this. I haven't looked into that, but I hope that she starts to see what is happening. From what I understand, she was not, I don't know if she was in the church scene when this occurred or if she left. It seems that no one saw her. She kind of was like, I don't know. I don't know if she was in shock. I really don't know. I'm pretty sure she was in shock, I would hope, but she can't explain how a live round got in there. She has no answers. But this wasn't the first incident. So as this trial is going on, we're finding out about other incidents that happened where another round was shot on the set, and it was significant. No one got hurt, luckily, but there were high safety concerns on the set. People were mishandling guns. They were using a gray kitchen cart. that all these guns were put on, all the ammo belts were put on. They're also, the defense is trying to say that some of these disgruntled employees from the set may have put live rounds on the set, which would, that is absolutely absurd and mean spirited to say that because someone wasn't getting accommodations that they would put live rounds somewhere on set and cause the loss of someone's life, possibly not knowing whose life it could be, just because they're upset that they didn't get a hotel room. I mean, that's insane. And that's a stretch. And there's, I mean, people, I'm sorry. I just think that that is super mean. And I think that that's not appropriate for them to do, because that is not the way crew members or camera people would get revenge. Literally walking off the day of a shoot. That's the way camera people and crew members get revenge, is like, we'll show them we're dipping out the day of, and they won't have anybody to do the work. So, and that's exactly what they did. They're not going to put live rounds. That's crazy. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow, and see who they call up. I'm wondering if any of the other actors are going to be called up against Hannah. So let's just see what happens. But this is getting interesting. But again, today's the first day that I saw some emotion. It's very, very sad to see. Jensen had very great things to say about Halyna in his interview with the police. She was very hands-on, more so than even the director. And it's sad that someone as talented and just wonderful as she was, you know, a lot of times when people like this pass away in Hollywood, people talk about them like they were just such a light, or they were so wonderful and so great, and you just wonder if they really were. But to hear Jensen talk about her and say he's never worked with anyone like her, that speaks volumes. So I hope that everyone, even though I didn't know her, you don't know her, I hope that everyone remembers that this is who this is about, is that someone lost their life. Halyna lost her life in an instant, in a freak situation. And Alec Baldwin, whether he wants to admit it or not, he pulled the trigger. The gun was cocked back and he pulled the trigger. The gun did not malfunction. It doesn't happen that way, y'all. So if you think it does, you're sadly mistaken. Guns don't just go off. That's not how it works. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. So I thank you so much for listening. I can't wait to cover tomorrow. I will chat with you all tomorrow. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Please leave a comment below. Follow me on Instagram at halfandhalf1974, on Twitter at The Alternate Point of View, and Facebook at Tracy Lee. Kamsahamnida. I will talk to you later.